All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a book that, honestly, it started a global conversation about how we live, lead, and love. It's Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. It is all about the incredible power of vulnerability. And I promise, by the end of this, you're going to see that the thing we've all been taught is weakness is actually our greatest source of courage. So let's jump in. So this whole idea, daring greatly, it comes from this amazing quote by Theodore Roosevelt. And this is the core metaphor for everything we're talking about. Life is not a spectator sport. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, face covered in dust and sweat, getting messy, taking risks, and just showing up. It isn't about whether you win or lose. It's about having the guts to step into that arena in the first place. So why is stepping into that arena so incredibly terrifying for so many of us? Well, Brené Brown's research points to this one huge problem in our modern culture. She calls it the culture of scarcity. And it's that constant nagging feeling in the back of our minds that we are somehow lacking, that we're just not enough. And what's so wild about this idea is just how much it resonates. We all know these feelings, right? This little voice that says, never good enough, never perfect enough, never successful enough, it just goes on and on. This scarcity mindset, it creates this constant, crushing pressure to live up to some impossible standard. So what's our natural reaction when we feel like we're not enough? We protect ourselves. Of course we do. We start building up all this armor, things like perfectionism or cynicism or just being all business. It's anything we can use to keep other people from seeing us as flawed or weak. We hide, we play it safe, and we run from the very thing we need to connect. Vulnerability. And this is where we get to the central myth that Brené Brown's work just completely shatters. For our whole lives, we've been taught to believe that vulnerability is the same thing as weakness. But what if that's the biggest misunderstanding of all? What if all that armor we've been building is the very thing that's holding us back? And this right here just illustrates the paradox perfectly. I mean, think about it. When you see somebody else being really open, or sharing something they're struggling with, or taking a big risk, what do you think? You probably think, wow, that is so brave. But when it's our turn, oh no, we think, I can't show that, that's weakness. We admire it in other people, but we are terrified of it in ourselves. So let's redefine this thing right now. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's actually the birthplace of all the good stuff we crave in life. Love, joy, creativity, belonging. It's that feeling you get when you're the first one to say, I love you, or when you share a risky new idea at work. As Brown defines it, it's about having the courage to show up and be seen when you have zero control over the outcome. It is the purest measure of courage. So, if we know the myth is that vulnerability is weakness, then what's the real enemy? What's the thing that's really keeping us out of the arena? It's not a lack of strength. It's shame. Shame is that little gremlin that whispers in our ear you're not good enough. And it absolutely thrives in secrecy, silence, and judgment. And we need to be clear here. Shame isn't just feeling bad about something. It's way, way deeper. It's the intensely painful belief that we ourselves are bad, that we are fundamentally flawed, and because of that flaw, we aren't worthy of connection and belonging. That fear of disconnection, that's what keeps us from being vulnerable. Now, this right here, this might be one of the most powerful and practical ideas in all of Brown's research. It's the difference between shame and guilt. Shame is a focus on self. Guilt is a focus on behavior. Shame says, I am bad. But guilt says, I did something bad. That tiny shift in your thinking, it's absolutely transformative. And here's why that difference is such a game changer. Guilt can actually be really productive. It can motivate us to say we're sorry, to make things right, to actually change our behavior for the better. But shame is completely destructive. It's highly correlated with things like addiction, depression, and aggression. Shame eats away at the very part of us that believes we can change and be better. Okay, so we get it. We understand the problem, this culture of never enough, the armor we build, and the real enemy, which is shame. So what do we do about it? How do we actually fight back and learn to dare greatly? Well, Brown's answer is that we have to build what she calls shame resilience. Let's look at the steps. Brown gives us a 4-step playbook. First, you have to recognize shame. Know what it feels like in your body, that pit in your stomach, your face getting hot. Second, practice critical awareness. Start asking questions like, are these expectations I'm failing to meet even realistic? Who says I should be this way? Third, and this is huge, reach out. Shame can't survive if you share it. Talk to someone you trust, someone who has earned the right to hear your story. And finally, step 4, speak shame. Give it a name. Just saying, I'm feeling shame right now, takes away its power, I promise. And that right there brings us right back to the arena. Daring greatly, living what she calls a wholehearted life. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never failing. It's about having the courage to show up and let yourself be seen, even when there are no guarantees. It's about being brave enough to be imperfect. So I'm going to leave you with the question that Brené Brown asks herself before she steps into the arena. It's not, what would I do if I knew I couldn't feel? Nope. Instead, it's a question that gets to the absolute heart of what matters to you. What is worth doing, even if I fail? That's the question that fuels a truly courageous life.